After the Straw Hat crew finally made it to Elbath, many One Piece fans, like myself, were excited to see what this new story arc might unfold, especially how this arc has been foreshadowed since the events of the Little Garden arc. Little did we know that this arc would become the most lore-heavy of all the story arcs, giving us info like the background of the sun god Nika and the ancient giant race. As such, within chapter 1138, Ezra Odo might have just dropped the biggest lore of them all, because at the end of the same chapter, Frankie would discover a mural that not only dates back during the Void Century, but also seemingly describing the past and future events of the One Piece world. Then, upon learning more through the Harley text, translated by Soul, well, let's just say it was a lot to process. This is Animanko 9000, a channel where we talk about content related to anime, manga, and other types of media. And in this video, I'll be giving a breakdown of the mural that Frankie discovered in chapter 1138. By the way, if you want to hear more of the contents I mentioned, just subscribe to my channel and feel free to comment anything else you want me to talk about. Okay, starting with the text of the first world, this is what's been written. The earth burned in endless flame, the hearts of men burned with desire. From whispering prayers, the sun god rose, beckoned by the enslaved who reached for the forbidden star. The god of the land was enraged. With the serpent of fire, they cast the world into ruin. Darkness fell, death reigned. They will not meet again. Some heavy stuff, but let's see what we can interpret here. From what was written in the first text, it seems to be talking about events before the Void Century. However, in the first portion of the text, where it says the earth burned in endless flame, it's currently unclear if the line is being literal or figurative. But based on this section of the mural, where it seemingly depicts giant buildings that could be power plants or factories, it might be the latter. After all, by Vegapunk's hypothesis, the One Piece world in the distant past might have been technologically advanced, with an ancient power source that is like the sun and can power up just about anything. As such, that power source could be referring to the endless flame, or in this case, a more powerful and complete version of the Mother Flame, which is already crazy as it is. Now, within the same line, there's the mention of hearts of men burned with desire, which could be talking about the human slaves in the past as they begin to wish for freedom. This can be backed up in this part of the mural, where we see human-like figures seemingly being forced to carry what look like stars, which could be a portion of the original Mother Flame. We then see them carry the stars to a figure, who could be the god of the land, who could even be Imu in the past, using the stars to seemingly power up a ship that can attack from the sky. And if you look closely, it looks similar to the ship Eneru built in the Skypiea arc. But, and this is just my speculation, it could be referencing the origins of the ancient weapons, namely Pluton and Uranus, since one is a battleship that can destroy islands, and for all we know, Uranus could be a levitation device to help make the ship float, or a flying fortress with similar capabilities. This can be testified when a portion of the incomplete Mother Flame was stolen and used to power up an unknown ancient weapon and destroy Lelouchia Kingdom. Of course, at this point in time, the weapons themselves may not entirely be complete, but could be considered early prototypes. Moving forward, the text will later say that the enslaved humans would pray for the sun god to rise as they reach the forbidden star. This line is likely an obvious reference to the original sun god Nika, who existed before the Void Century, and upon his first emergence, he must have stolen the original Mother Flame and gave it to the people who wished for freedom. Then, in this portion of the text, where it states how the god of the land, again probably Imu, was enraged, likely in regards to how his power source was stolen. As a result, this might have started the first war against Nika, which could have led to the world's destruction and leaving only a few human survivors. Additionally, there's the mention of the Serpent of Flame being responsible for the world's ruin, but it's unclear if it's a separate entity that Imo made a pact with, or it's Imo themselves transforming into that serpent. As for the last line that says they will not meet again, it could mean that the sun god Nika must have fallen, and the people who knew of him during that time will no longer be able to see him. At least that's what I'm getting at, but it's likely we'll find out more once we are near the end of the series. Next, here's what the Harley text say about the second world. A breath stared in the abyss. The god of the forest wove their magic, nurturing its devils, while the sun lit the embers of war. Those of the half-crescent and full moons dreamed, yet the ones who slew the sun deified themselves, invoking the wrath of the sea god. They would not meet again. So upon reading the second text, it's clearly talking about the events of the Great War during the Void Century. This can be further evident with the lines that says the sun lit the embers of war, and the ones who slew the sun deified themselves, as both are directly referencing Joy Boy's involvement in that Great War after gaining the powers of Nika, as well as his defeat by the hands of the 20 monarchs and will later become the Celestial Dragons. Another is within this section of the mural, where it shows a depiction of the giant ship Noah being completely built and ready to use. There is also the case of how the god of the sea was enraged, which could easily be referring towards the ancient weapon Poseidon. Moreover, given how the weapon does take on the form of a living being, also known as the Mermaid Princess, the Poseidon of the past must have been friends with Joy Boy, much like how Luffy is friends with Princess Shurihoshi, the current Poseidon. As such, upon seeing Joy Boy's death, the Poseidon of the past must have been so shocked that she could have been sole responsible for sinking entire islands and causing the sea levels to rise up, which probably what forced the celestial dragons to move to the top of the red line. Of course, what really got my attention is the mention of how the god of the forest would nurture devils, as it could be a possible reveal that the devil fruits must have come into existence during the Void Century, making this the first and so far only time we ever got any info about the fruit's origin. I mean, I can't say if it's true, but if it is, that is wild. Now, in regards to the mention of how the Half Crescent and Full Moons dreamed, they could be allies of Joy Boy, with some likely being devil fruit users and have participated in the Great War. Furthermore, if we look at a bit deeper, the Half Crescent could be referring to an early generation of those of the Will of D, while the Full Moons could be the inhabitants from the Sky Islands, or even the Minks. Also, just basing this on an assumption right now, after the war was over, the remnants of Joy Boy's allies might have stolen Pluton and hide it within the borders of Wano. And while most went their separate ways, some, like those of the Will of D, might have stayed on the island and probably led to forming the Kosuki family. That last part could be a bit of a stretch, but it could be possible as well. Lastly, the message at the end that also says they will not meet again could just mean that those who allied with Joy Boy won't be able to meet the reincarnated version of him during their lifetime. Finally, we made it to the text about the third world, and this is what it has to say. Chaos reigns, the world drifts in a void, yet time does not erase the memory of the promised day. Its shadow looms as the voice of the half-moon echoes through the ages, and once more, the sun god shall rise, laughing, dancing, guiding the world to its final act. The sun is reborn, a new dawn will break, surely this time they will meet. As clearly written, the third text might be referring to the present-day world of One Piece, as well as events that could occur in the foreseeable future. Along with the mention of how chaos reigns, it could be talking about the corrupted world government, or some of the world's most infamous pirates, as one is responsible for the many acts of atrocities around the world, and the other group is known to wreak havoc wherever they go. Then in the next line, where it mentions time does not erase the memory of the promised day, it could suggest that despite the many attempts the world nobles try to erase the past, there are those who try to preserve it, and would inadvertently prepare for another and possibly final war, with Joy Boy leading the way. And, assuming that the half moon mentioned in this part of the text is supposed to be someone from the Will of D, as well as Joy Boy's return, then it could be referring to no one else but Luffy, who is now the new Joy Boy, as well as having the powers of the sun god Nika. In fact, even before Luffy fully awakened his devil fruit powers, it was stated that Luffy has some power that can gather people around him, so it makes sense that he be the one to lead towards what might be the final battle. This section of the mural even showcased what could be predicting future events, as we see so many figures who Luffy could have befriended or encountered throughout his journey, even one that looks like a Lunarian. Although it is uncertain if King will join, the Zerafins most likely will, especially since Bonnie, who is now Luffy's ally, does have the highest authority of controlling any pacifista. What's more, it also shows the army going against a giant figure who could be Imu, holding the Mother Flame, along with either the Holy Knights, the Five Elders, or the Marines. Although, personally, I think the giant figure could be Blackbeard, assuming if he is going to absorb Imu's power, which could be from a devil fruit. But either way, this is definitely a foreshadowing of the final battle. Finally, the way the text ends with a new dawn will break, surely this time they will meet, it could be stating how the world government will soon fall and a new and better age will emerge, with Joy Boy being responsible for it. Honestly, this is giving me some major God of War vibes right here, and I don't know how much Oda has planned this, but so far, he outdid himself with this one single double spread page. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to add some of your thoughts of what the mural and text might mean, then just leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.